Hey, good everyone. So today I'll be doing a quick analysis on gold. So we all know gold has been creating multiple break of structure to the upside. Gold has been bullish for weeks now. So now I'll be doing a quick analysis on what I expect price to do either within the week or probably next week. So now we see price created the first market structure shift from this point. Price created the first market structure shift from that point there. Then after the market structure shift, what did you notice next? You see this first break of structure. Price created the first break of structure. Yeah. So now after the break of structure, price came back again to retest on this other block. So after the retest on the other block, price again pushed to the upside, creating another break of structure here again. So now after this break of structure, price was supposed to come back to retest on an order block or a breaker block. So now price was supposed to come back to this region where there's another block here. So price was supposed to come back to that region. Yeah, was supposed to retest on this point here before uh, pushing to the upside again. So but price didn't do that. Instead, price was in a fast movement. It just ignored that area and started pushing to the upside. So after that, see price create another break of structure again. The next break of structure. After this next break of structure, price was supposed to come back again to retest on an order block or a breaker block. But price didn't do that. Price just continued on the uptrend. Just kept on creating multiple break of structures to the upside. So led to this next break of structure. After that, the next break of structure again, and all these break of structure didn't retest on a breaker block or an order block, or maybe because there's no breaker block or there's no order block, that's why price didn't retest on any, because I didn't look at the charts uh, from last week. I um opened my trading view I think yesterday, and I started marking out all these break of structures. So now next break of structure, price retested on that, um, came here again to create another break of structure. So now, but this time price came down to retest on an OB, spotted this OB on the 3 minute time frame. Price retested on the OB from this point, and that led to this next break of structure here. So after this next break of structure, price was supposed to come back again to retest on an order block, and I think okay, price was supposed to come back to this point here to retest on this OB. Price was supposed to come back to retest on this OB here, and the reason is that if you should go to, let's say we go to the 15-minute time frame now. If you go to the 15-minute time frame now, so on the 15-minute time frame, you can clearly see this first OB here. This first OB has been mitigated. This next OB has been mitigated, but this one hasn't been mitigated yet. So price will probably come back to use that OB again. So now we should go to the 5-minute time frame. So now on the 5-minute time frame now, you see this next break of structure here. After this bigger break of structure, inside a break of structure there's also another break of structure. So now we're expecting price to come back to this point here. So what we should be looking for now is, from all those small break of structures price is creating, we should look for areas where price will create a market structure shift. So this is the first break of structure, the tiny break of structure. After that, you can see this next break of structure. This is also a tiny break of structure. All this is just a mini break of structure. So there's the bigger break of structure, and there's also a smaller break of structure. So now this is the next break of structure. After that, the next break of structure. Yeah. Next break of structure. So just keep marking out all the break of structure. After that, this is the next break of structure here. the next breaker structure, and after that the next breaker structure here, next breaker structure, next breaker structure. So all these tiny stuffs are also breaker structure. So you also have to mark out all of them. Breaker structure, breaker structure. So this was the last breaker structure price did there at this top. That was the last breaker structure price did. So now this whole candle you see here, let me draw it out. This whole candle you see here is not a market structure shift. You know why I said it's not a market structure shift? Look at the pattern of the candles, the way the candle moved to the downside. You can see it's in a kind of slant way. And when price moved in that slant way, you see there's no bullish candlesticks. It's just red candles all through. That's the price was like trying to grab liquidity or trying to clear out liquidity, and in that process is retesting on an order block. So you can see from here now, this order block that price retested from, due to that liquidity sweep or liquidity grab. So this is the order block price retested on. And if you observe this same pattern here, this same pattern, you can also find it here too. Each time price clear out liquidity to retest on an order block, you can also find it here too. So you need to follow this particular pattern. You can also see it here too. When you see price move in that kind of slant way, you just know price is clearing out liquidity or price is going to grab liquidity. So it's not a market structure shift, and price probably continue back on the bullish trend. So now since price broke, um, price has retested on this order block here, this will now be the previous low. So from the point where price retests on the order block, that point will be the previous low. So can you just call this the previous low? So this is the previous low now. So if price should move above now, so what we're looking for now is a market structure shift. You just have to be patient, wait for price to just continue on that trend, since the trend is just like how like the price just moving in a random way. It's not retesting on all the other blocks or all the breaker block. It's just moving in a random way. So you just have to wait for a market structure shift. So now if price should react from this, price has reacted from this other block now, and it pushed to this upside to take out the previous high. So let me mark that out. This as the previous high here. So if price should come and take this previous high, it will result to a break of structure. This will result to a break of structure. Then after the break of structure, let's say price now come back again to take out this previous low. It will result to a market structure shift. That will result to a market structure shift. The only way price can react, like price can um push to the downside from this, the way price can push to the downside from this point here, is if price should break below this order block, because each time price retests on order block, it is expected to take out the previous high. But in this case now, price reacted from the order block, but price hasn't taken out the previous high. But let's say price reacts from here, then suddenly push to the downside now below this order block, so automatically that order block will turn into a breaker block, and price will just come back for the breaker block, test on the breaker block, then push to the downside. So but in this case, price reacting from an order block, so it is expected for it to take out the previous high, creating another break of structure. Then after the break of structure, it will come back again for another order block or another breaker block. That's if price creates an order block or a breaker block. So this is my analysis for for good, so you just have to keep following the trend and wait for areas where price will create market structure shift. So let's move to Euro USD. Let me give analysis on Euro USD. We check what price is doing on Euro USD. So this is your Euro USD, and Euro USD has been bullish. You can see Euro USD has been bullish after this market structure shift here. It came back to retest on this order block, and the order block resulted to this break of structure. Break of structure came back again to retest on another order block. That will be resulted to another break of structure again. So ever since, price has been creating multiple break of structure, multiple break of structure, break of structure. So now from this point where price did this break of structure, price was supposed to come back to retest on this order block here. Price was supposed to come back to retest on this order block here, but it didn't do that. Price didn't come back for the OB. Price didn't do that, so we can just mark this OB out on the 15-minute time frame, because price will eventually come back for it. And one thing, this is why I like trading Euro USD, because it's one of the most traded pair, and since it's one of the most traded pair, there's much volatility in the market, so that will give you high chance to get more setups every day. So um, pairs with much there's much liquidity in the market, so pairs with much liquidity in the market will give you high chance for more entries, and pairs that are traded the most will also give you high chance for more entries. So now we see price creating break of structure, did a liquidity grab here. Liquidity grab at this point resulted to this break of structure. Now the break of structure, I marked out this breaker block, and I was expecting this breaker block to react from there to take out this previous high. But after price came to this region, I went to the lower time frame, and I saw there was an order block around this region, or probably somewhere around here. So I just quickly use the 1:5 risk to reward ratio and price it, take profit. Then after price reacted from the order block, it started pushing to the downside again. Price started pushing to the downside again to react from this. To react from this order block there, and in that area of the order block where the order block is, there's also a fair value gap here. There's also a fair value gap here, and I think price used 50% of the fair value gap. So a fair value gap there. Okay, price used 50% of the fair value gap. So you see, this is also another confirmation to tell you the buy entry is still valid, because firstly there's a breaker block there, and the breaker block is being protected by a fair value gap. So that is a more confirmation to tell you the buy entry is valid. So now you see price now came back for the fair value gap, and the order block there reacted from it, then kept going, kept pushing to the upside. So now I'm expecting price now to clear out this whole buy side liquidity here on Euro USD. I'm expecting price to clear out this whole buy side liquidity on Euro USD, and this is also a liquidity grab too, because there's a liquidity at this point. Price grab the liquidity in order for it to retest on the order block, so you can just use that as a liquidity grab. So let me check on the 30-minute time frame to see if I will be able to spot out any entry. Go down to the 15 minutes. Okay, Yes, an OB here. So if price should break if price should break above this region, above that OB, it will turn into a breaker block. This if price should break above that OB, it will turn into a breaker block. So when price is coming back to retest, it will come back to retest on top of the breaker. On top of the breaker. That's if price did not create any other block, it will come back to retest on top of the breaker. And the reason why the breaker is valid, because this breaker resulted to, if you trace from this line now, resulted to this liquidity grab at this point. The breaker resulted to that liquidity grab. So once the breaker resulted to a liquidity grab, it gives more valid entry. So if price should break above, the breaker block will be valid. But if price decide to react from that breaker, the only way price can turn to a downtrend is if price should react from this order block that is currently at this order block here. Price should react from there, then come down again to take out this previous low, because this is why I said the price should come back to take out that previous low. Okay, sorry, not this. The price should come back to take out this previous. The price should break below this previous low. You know why? Because this point now, price reacted from this point, created this break of structure, came back again, created this break of structure, and the break of structure broke above with a full body candle. So now this is the previous low. This is the previous low. So if price should come back now to take out the previous low, that will result to a market structure shift. So that's the only thing. So since we are already late with this entry, you just have to wait for two things. You just have to be patient, because one thing about trading, you always have to be patient. You don't have to force the trade to come out. You always have to be patient. Wait for that confirmation. So there are two things we should wait for. Is that price should break below the previous low, or price should break above the previous high. You just mark this as the previous high to be more clear. So if that price should break below the previous low, or it should break above the previous high. If it breaks below the previous low, that's a market structure shift. If it breaks above the previous high, that's a break of structure. So once price break above the previous high, you will look for areas where price will create where price will reverse to retest on an order block or a breaker block. So these are the two things you must look out for. And two things you must look out for. So this is my analysis on Euro USD. So my next class will be starting from June, since I won't be active throughout May. So my next class will be from June. So you guys should you can practice on the videos I've made, the previous videos I've made. You can also practice from my YouTube channel also before my class will kick off again from June. Thank you.